No. Tell me you didn't. You sold me?
No one described your silence.
The silver coin spun across the gaming table, wobbling under candlelight before collapsing flat. Heads. Edmund Whitmore went pale. The men around him said nothing at first. They simply watched him with the cold fascination aristocrats reserved for ruin, especially when it belonged to someone foolish enough to gamble beyond recovery. Lord Ashcombe leaned back in his chair and steepled his fingers. "Well," he said mildly, "that appears to be the end of your luck." Edmund swallowed. His cravat had loosened. Sweat gleamed at his temple. 3 hours earlier he had entered the London Gaming Club laughing, loud with confidence and brandy. Now his hands trembled. "How much?" he asked. Ashcombe slid the ledger forward. "You owe £32,000. Edmund stared. 32,000. Enough to buy an estate. Enough to destroy one. "I can pay." The laughter that followed was quiet, which somehow felt crueler. "With what?" asked one gentleman. "Your lands are mortgaged. Your London townhouse is leveraged. Your horses are gone." Ashcombe's expression never changed. "You have nothing left." Edmund's jaw tightened. No, not nothing. There was one asset he had never intended to mention, one he had always considered a last resort. His daughter. He hated how quickly the thought arrived, not because it disgusted him, because it felt practical. Ashcombe studied him. "That look suggests inspiration." Edmund slowly lifted his head. "If I offered something unconventional." The room quieted. Ashcombe folded his hands. "I'm listening." Edmund licked dry lips. "My daughter." Silence. Even the fire seemed to stop crackling. One nobleman gave a startled laugh. "Good God!" Ashcombe's eyes narrowed. "Explain." "She is 19, educated, graceful, beautiful." A murmur moved through the room. Edmund continued. "She is suitable for marriage. Whoever takes responsibility for her would receive the remaining Whitmore dowry rights." Ashcombe stared. Then he smiled. Not warm, interested. "Are you selling your daughter?" Edmund bristled. "No," but the lie sounded weak. He tried again. "I am offering settlement." The club doors opened. Every head turned. A hush spread instantly. Even drunk men sat straighter, because only one man in London could command silence without speaking, the Duke of Ravenshade. He entered with measured steps, ebony cane tapping once against polished wood. Tall, severe, unnervingly composed. Black coat, black gloves, black walking cane, and those strange pale eyes, unfocused, empty, blind, yet somehow more unsettling than sight. Lucian Vale, Duke of Ravenshade, the blind Duke. Whispers followed him everywhere. Some called him cursed, others called him dangerous. All feared him. Because blindness had not weakened him, it had sharpened everything else. He paused just inside the room. "You've gone silent," he said. His voice was low, smooth, impossible to read. Either someone died, or someone said something interesting. No one answered. Ashcombe recovered first. Your Grace. Lucian tilted his head. What is it? Ashcombe almost smiled. Lord Whitmore is attempting to settle his debt. Lucian's cane stilled. How? A long silence. Edmund felt every gaze turn toward him. He swallowed. With my daughter. The room froze. Lucian said nothing. Then, one more time. His voice had changed, quieter, deadlier. Edmund forced himself to continue. My daughter, Eleanor Whitmore. Silence. Lucian's head tilted slightly. You wagered a woman. No, you offered a woman as currency. She is my daughter. That made the Duke still, completely still. When he spoke again, his voice was almost soft. That makes it worse. A chill ran through the room. Edmund straightened. She will be cared for. Lucian slowly turned his head toward the sound of Edmund's breathing. You assume any decent man would accept. Edmund clenched his jaw. Wouldn't he? Lucian's fingers tightened on his cane. No one moved. Ashcombe broke the silence. Interesting question. He looked toward the Duke. Would you? The entire room stopped breathing. Edmund frowned. Ashcombe continued. The Duke requires a wife eventually. A murmur. Someone whispered. No. Ashcombe leaned back. Take the girl. Edmund stared. What? Ashcombe smiled. Transfer the debt. To him? Yes. Your Grace, 32,000 in debt settlement. The daughter becomes yours under legal guardianship until marriage contract is settled. Edmund's heart pounded. It was insane. But if the Duke agreed, he would survive. His debts erased, his ruin avoided. He looked at Lucian. Well? The Duke's face remained carved from stone. Finally, describe her. Edmund blinked. What? Your daughter. The room held its breath. Edmund straightened. She is beautiful. Lucian remained expressionless. All fathers say that. Edmund faltered. She has dark hair. Silence. Grey eyes. Nothing. Graceful posture. Still nothing. Ashcombe smirked. Lucian asked one final question. How does she look when betrayed? Edmund froze. The question sliced through the room. What? Lucian's voice remained calm. When the person she trusted most betrays her. A beat. What happens to her voice? Edmund had no answer. Lucian spoke. That tells me enough. Tap. His cane struck wood once. I'll take the debt. Gasps. Edmund nearly collapsed. Relief flooded him. Yes, yes, of course. Lucian raised a gloved hand. One motion. Silence returned. I am not finished. His empty, pale eyes faced forward. I am not buying property. He spoke each word with surgical precision. I am buying the consequences of your choices. Edmund frowned. What does that mean? Lucian turned. Toward him. Perfectly, though blind. Impossible. It felt like being pinned by something ancient and merciless. It means, the Duke said quietly, bring Eleanor Whitmore to Ravenshade House tomorrow. Edmund exhaled. Done. Saved. Then Lucian continued, and if she arrives unwilling, the Duke's voice dropped into something terrifying. I will know. A silence. Then, I always know. The next morning, Eleanor Whitmore stood in the drawing room holding a teacup when her father entered. She looked up and smiled faintly. Father. He did not return it. Immediately, something felt wrong. Eleanor set the cup down. What happened? Edmund shut the door. You're leaving. She frowned. What? He avoided her eyes. You'll be going to Ravenshade House. Confusion. Why? Silence. Then understanding arrived in pieces. Too slow. Too cruel. Her face drained. No. Edmund said nothing. Her voice cracked. No. She stepped backward. You didn't. Still silence. Tears gathered instantly. Not falling, just shining. Disbelief. No. Her breathing turned shallow. Tell me you didn't. Edmund hardened himself. It's done. The world stopped. Eleanor stared at him, like she no longer recognized the man before her. Sold. Her voice barely existed. You sold me. Edmund snapped. Enough theatrics. She flinched. That hurt more than shouting, because she had not flinched since childhood. His anger softened into irritation. You'll be comfortable. Comfortable. The word shattered something. Her lips trembled. Was Mother comfortable when she died begging you to stop gambling? Edmund's face darkened. Do not. Did you sell her jewels too? Silence. Eleanor stopped breathing. Her voice dropped. You did. Edmund looked away. She whispered. She trusted you. Then the tears came. Not wild sobbing. Worse. Silent tears. One after another. Her father looked uncomfortable. Eleanor laughed once. Broken. You sold everything she loved. She looked at him, then asked the question that gutted him. What did you tell him I was worth? Silence. Edmund had no answer. At last, a knock. 3 sharp knocks. The butler entered, pale. Your Grace has arrived. Eleanor went still. The Duke was here, already, too soon. Her father straightened. Bring him in. Heavy footsteps approached. Cane. Tap. 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 Then the Duke of Ravenshade entered. Black. Still. Terrifying. Eleanor's breath caught. He was younger than rumour suggested. No older than 30. Beautiful in a severe, dangerous way. His pale, blind eyes moved toward the room, then stopped, directly on her. Impossible. Her pulse thundered. He inhaled once, subtle, like he was reading the air. Then he spoke, not to her father, to her. Eleanor Whitmore. Her throat tightened. Yes. A pause. Then the blind Duke said the words that changed everything. No one described your silence. No one described your silence. The words landed harder than any insult. Eleanor Whitmore stood frozen, her gloved fingers trembling against the folds of her cream travelling dress. Across from her, the Duke of Ravenshade remained motionless, ebony cane resting lightly against polished oak flooring, pale, sightless eyes fixed impossibly in her direction. He should not have known where she stood. He should not have been guessing her posture, her breath, the precise angle of her body. And yet, he faced her perfectly. Her father forced a laugh. My daughter has always been dramatic. The Duke did not respond. Not immediately. Then, no. His voice was calm. Dramatic people fill silence because they fear it. A pause. Your daughter weaponizes silence. Eleanor felt a chill travel down her spine. The Duke turned his head slightly toward Edmund Whitmore. She does not fear silence. Another beat. She uses it to judge. Edmund stiffened. That's absurd. Lucian Vale, Duke of Ravenshade, lifted his cane and tapped once. You're sweating. Edmund froze. Lucian continued. Your breathing shortened 12 seconds ago. Tap. You swallowed twice. Tap. You keep shifting weight to your left foot. His voice remained cool. That means you're lying or uncomfortable. Silence crushed the room. Eleanor stared. This man was blind, and yet he saw more than anyone she had ever met. Her father forced composure. Well, Your Grace, the arrangement is complete. Arrangement. Eleanor almost laughed, as if she were furniture. Lucian spoke. Miss Whitmore. Eleanor swallowed. Yes. Do you wish to come with me? The room went still. Edmund snapped. The contract is already signed. Lucian ignored him. He asked again. Do you wish to come? Eleanor stared. No one had asked her. Not once. Not her father. Not Lord Ashcombe. Not society. This terrifying blind Duke had. Her throat tightened. No. The word came out raw, honest, painfully honest. Lucian did not react. Why? Eleanor's breath shook. Because my father sold me. Silence. My mother died trying to save this family. Her voice strengthened. He gambled away her jewels. Another breath. Now he has gambled away me. The tears returned, but did not fall. I do not wish to belong to anyone. Stillness. Even the servants had stopped breathing. Edmund exploded. That is enough. Be quiet. Lucian did not raise his voice. He did not need to. The command hit like steel. Edmund fell silent. Lucian spoke to Eleanor again. If you refuse, I will not force you. Eleanor blinked. What? Her father paled. What? Lucian's expression remained unreadable. I do not purchase unwilling women. Edmund surged forward. You can't do that. The debt. I can do anything. That ended it. Not loudly. Simply fact. Lucian tilted his head toward Eleanor. Miss Whitmore. His voice softened. Not warm, but precise. I offer terms. Eleanor whispered. What terms? You live at Ravenshade House under my protection. Protection. The word felt unfamiliar. Tap. You are not my prisoner. Tap. You are not my servant. Tap. You are not my possession. Her breath caught. Then, if you wish to leave, a pause. You may leave. Edmund stared. What kind of arrangement is that? Lucian replied without turning. One you would never understand. Eleanor looked at the Duke. Something inside her shifted, tiny, dangerous, because for the first time in months, she felt safe. Not warm, not comforted. Safe. Different things. She looked at her father. He would ruin everything. He always did. She looked back at Lucian. The Duke waited, still, patient, as though he had all the time in the world. At last, I'll go. Edmund exhaled in relief. Lucian said only, good. Ravenshade House stood on a cliff 2 hours beyond London. It did not resemble a home. It resembled a warning. Black stone, tall iron gates, severe architecture. Wind clawed at its edges as the carriage climbed the final road. Eleanor sat opposite Lucian in silence. He had not spoken once during the journey, neither had she. The silence between them felt strange, not awkward, dense, intentional. At last she asked, "How do you do that?" Lucian remained still. "Do what?" "See." The Duke almost smiled. "I don't." "No," she said quietly. "You do." Silence. Then, "I listen." He turned slightly toward the carriage window. "I hear fabric tension." His gloved fingers tapped once against his knee. "Breathing patterns." Another tap. "Pulse shifts." His head angled toward her. And silence. Her throat tightened. "Silence?" "Yes." His pale eyes fixed toward her. "Most people think silence means nothing." A pause. "They're wrong." The carriage rolled over stone. Lucian continued. "Silence has shape." Eleanor stared. "Shape? You're silent differently when angry." He tilted his head. "Differently when frightened." Another beat. "And differently when trying not to cry." Her breath stopped, because that was exactly what she was doing. Again she whispered, "How can you know that?" Lucian answered simply, "Because I spent years learning what sighted people miss." The carriage fell silent again. Then Eleanor asked the question burning inside her, "Why did you take my father's debt?" Lucian went still, completely. The shift was subtle, but unmistakable, dangerous. His voice cooled. "Because Lord Ashcombe suggested it. That cannot be all. It is enough." "No!" The word surprised even her. Lucian slowly turned toward her. Eleanor swallowed but continued. "You're feared by everyone." Silence. "You're powerful." Silence. "You could have ignored them." She leaned forward. "So why me?" The Duke said nothing. Wind rattled the carriage. At last, "Your mother." Eleanor froze. "My mother?" "Yes." His jaw tightened. "I knew Marion Whitmore." The world narrowed. "No, impossible." "What?" Lucian's voice grew distant. "She was kind." Eleanor stared. No one spoke of her mother anymore. No one. Her voice shook. "How did you know her?" Lucian's expression hardened. "That is a longer story." "I want it." "No." The refusal was immediate, cold, absolute. Eleanor felt anger rise. "You bring me here, know my mother, rescue me from my father, and expect silence." "Yes." She stared. The audacity. Something hot and reckless rose in her chest. "Then I hate you." The words escaped. The carriage froze into silence. Eleanor immediately regretted them. Then Lucian laughed. Not loudly, not mockingly, but genuinely, low, rich, startling. Her eyes widened. It transformed him, made him almost human, almost beautiful in a dangerous way. "You hate me?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because you decide everything." Lucian considered that. "Fair." "You're impossible." "Also fair." She frowned. "You're not offended?" "No." "Why not?" The Duke turned toward her, because his next words were devastatingly calm. "Because hate is louder than indifference." Her pulse skipped. "What?" "You hate me." A pause. "That means you feel something." His pale eyes remained fixed on her. "I prefer that." Her heart pounded. This man was dangerous, not because he was cruel, because he understood people too well. The carriage stopped. A servant opened the door. Cold wind swept in. Lucian stood first, then extended his gloved hand. Eleanor looked at it, then at him. I can walk alone. I know. Silence. Take my hand anyway. Her pulse quickened. Why did that sound less like a request and more like surrender? Slowly, she placed her hand in his, warm, firm, controlled. Lucian's fingers tightened around hers, not possessive, certain. He stepped down first, then guided her. The moment her shoes touched stone, he froze, completely. His hand tightened, painfully. Eleanor winced. Your Grace. Lucian's breathing changed. For the first time, fear, real fear. His head turned toward the entrance. A voice echoed from the doorway, warm, female, terrified. My God! Eleanor looked up. An older housekeeper stood at the entrance, pale as death. Tears filled her eyes. She stared at Eleanor, not at the Duke, at Eleanor, as if seeing a ghost. She whispered, She has Marian's face. Lucian released Eleanor's hand, too fast, too abruptly. His voice turned to ice. Mrs. Doyle. The housekeeper trembled. Yes, Your Grace. Lucian's jaw tightened. Say nothing else. Eleanor's pulse thundered, because she knew, absolutely knew, whatever connected the Duke of Ravenshade to her mother, it was far darker than she imagined. Eleanor barely slept. Ravenshade House had a silence unlike any place she had known. Not peaceful, not oppressive, listening. The corridors seemed to absorb sound and return only fragments. Floorboards settling, wind brushing stone, distant clock chimes. Even the servants moved with strange precision, as though the entire household had learnt to breathe around one man's hearing. At dawn, Eleanor stood before the tall window of her guest chamber, wrapped in a cream shawl, staring at the mist rolling over the cliffs. Her mother. Lucian knew her mother. Not casually, not distantly. The reaction downstairs had proven that. Mrs. Doyle had looked at her as if Marian Whitmore had stepped out of the grave. A knock came. 3 measured taps. Eleanor turned. Come in. Mrs. Doyle entered carrying tea. She was perhaps 60, sharp-featured but warm-eyed, though tension still lingered in her face from yesterday. She placed the tray down. Did you sleep, miss? Not much. Mrs. Doyle hesitated, then nodded as if unsurprised. That happens to most who arrive here. Eleanor folded her arms. I need answers. The older woman stiffened. Answers are dangerous in this house. I'm tired of being protected by silence. Mrs. Doyle froze. That sentence clearly landed somewhere deep. Eleanor stepped closer. You knew my mother. Silence. You recognized me instantly. Still silence. Please. Mrs. Doyle's hands tightened around the teapot. I served Marian Whitmore. Eleanor's breath caught. Served? What? The woman slowly sat. She came here 17 years ago. The room spun. No. Yes. My mother never mentioned this place. The older woman gave a sad smile. She wouldn't. Why? Tears filled the older woman's eyes. Because she promised. Eleanor stared. Who promised? Before Mrs. Doyle could answer, a cane struck the corridor floor outside. Tap, tap, tap. Mrs. Doyle went pale. Lucian. The door opened. Adrian, Lucian Vale, Duke of Ravenshade, entered in black morning coat, silver threading his dark temples, expression unreadable. His pale eyes faced forward. He stopped. Mrs. Doyle immediately stood. Your Grace. Lucian spoke calmly. Leave us. She hesitated. Eleanor snapped. No. Lucian turned toward her voice. No. I asked her a question. You will ask me instead. Anger flared. Why? His jaw tightened. Because this concerns me. Eleanor laughed once, sharp. Everything concerns you. Silence. Mrs. Doyle looked like she wished the floor would swallow her. Lucian said, Leave us. Mrs. Doyle fled. The door shut. Silence expanded.
Eleanor crossed her arms. You don't get to command me. Lucian remained still. No. No. She stepped toward him. You owe me truth. His voice cooled. I owe you safety. I don't want safety. That made him go still, completely still. Eleanor continued, voice shaking. I want truth. Her chest rose and fell. You know my mother. Silence. You knew her well enough that your entire household nearly fainted seeing me. Nothing. She stepped closer. Did you love her? The air changed. Lucian's hand tightened on his cane. Eleanor saw it. There, the crack. Tiny, but real. His voice dropped. No. Too fast, too sharp. Lie. Eleanor saw it immediately. You're lying. Lucian's jaw flexed. No. You are. I am not. You loved her. The words echoed. Lucian suddenly moved, fast, far faster than she expected from a blind man. In one motion he closed the distance. Eleanor gasped. Now only inches separated them. She stopped breathing. He towered over her, warm, dangerous, controlled violence. His voice came low, deadly quiet. Be careful. With what? His pale eyes faced her. With things you think you understand. Fear flickered through her, but anger remained stronger. She mattered to you. Silence. Why? Lucian's breathing deepened. Then, she saved my life. Everything stopped. Eleanor stared. What? He stepped back. Only one pace, but it felt enormous. His voice grew distant. I was 13. Silence. My father had invited guests. His fingers whitened around the cane. One guest brought his son. Eleanor listened. He thought it amusing. Lucian's expression hardened. To prove blind boys cannot defend themselves. Cold spread through Eleanor. No. Lucian continued. He locked me inside the stables. His voice remained calm. That somehow made it worse. There was smoke. Eleanor's throat tightened. Fire. He had set straw alight. Her heart slammed. Why? Cruelty requires no motive. Silence. The horses panicked. Lucian inhaled slowly. I couldn't see the exit. The room vanished around Eleanor. All she saw was a 13-year-old blind boy surrounded by fire. Lucian spoke. Then someone came. A beat. Your mother. Eleanor's eyes filled. She ran into the flames. Yes. Why? Lucian's expression shifted. Something raw, buried. Because his answer came like confession. She heard me. Tears burned Eleanor's eyes. Lucian continued. She found me by my voice. Silence. She took my hand. A pause. And said, his voice faltered, first time ever. She said, another breath, I see you. Eleanor covered her mouth. No, no wonder.
Lucian's jaw tightened. She led me out. Silence. Everyone praised my father for saving me. His voice turned to ice. He let them. Eleanor whispered. And mother. She said nothing. The room felt heavy with grief. She kept his lie. Yes. Why? Lucian's expression darkened. Because exposing powerful men comes at a cost. Silence. Eleanor understood. Too well. Women learned that early. She whispered. She protected him. No. Lucian turned toward her. She protected me. That landed like thunder. Eleanor stared. What? My father would have killed the boy who started the fire. Silence. He was politically valuable. A pause. Your mother knew blood would follow truth. He exhaled. So she buried it. Eleanor's eyes flooded. Her mother. Her brave, impossible mother. Then another realization struck. Wait. Lucian went still. Eleanor's voice sharpened. If mother saved you. Her pulse pounded. Why did she marry my father? Silence. Long. Heavy. Lucian said nothing. Eleanor's breathing shortened. No. No. The horrifying thought formed. You loved her. Silence. She loved you? Nothing. Eleanor's eyes widened. No. No. She didn't marry father by choice, did she? Lucian's silence answered everything. The truth detonated. She was forced. Lucian said quietly, yes. Tears spilled. Eleanor shook. You loved her. Silence. She loved you and was forced to marry him? Her knees weakened. Everything made sense. Her mother's sadness, her quiet grief, her dead eyes near the end, all of it. Lucian spoke. Eleanor, but she was no longer listening. Rage erupted, white hot, not at him, at the dead past, at her father, at every cruel man who decided women's lives. She whispered, he stole her. Silence. Then louder, he stole her. Lucian said nothing, because there was nothing to say. Eleanor looked up, her face wet with tears. Her voice broke. And now he sold me. That sentence destroyed the room. Lucian froze, because in that instant he heard it. Not just grief, not just rage, inheritance. The same wound. Mother, daughter, sold by the same man. His chest tightened. A rare, vicious emotion surged through him, murderous fury, against Edmund Whitmore, against himself, because he had known, he had suspected, but hearing Eleanor say it, no, something inside him snapped. He stepped forward. Eleanor didn't move. His gloved hand rose, stopped, 1 inch from her cheek. He could feel her warmth, her trembling, her tears. He wanted, no, he lowered his hand. Too dangerous, too intimate. Eleanor stared at that unfinished gesture, at the restraint, then whispered, what do you see when you look at me? Lucian stopped breathing. The question pierced deeper than she knew. What did he see? Not Marian. No, that was the lie he had feared. Eleanor wasn't Marian. She had Marian's face, but not her spirit. Marian was warmth, mercy, sunlight. Eleanor was fire wrapped in silk. He answered honestly, I see someone trying very hard not to break. Her breath caught. Lucian continued, and failing.
Tears spilled harder because he was right. Again, she whispered, "I'm tired." His voice softened. "I know." Then the knock came, urgent, violent. A servant burst in, pale, terrified. "Your Grace." Lucian turned instantly. "What?" The servant swallowed. "Lord Whitmore is here." Eleanor froze. "No," the servant finished, "and he's demanding money." Silence. Then came a second sentence, the worst one. "He says if you refuse." The servant looked at Eleanor. "He'll sell the rest of her mother's belongings to Lord Ashcombe." Lucian went completely still. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. When he spoke, his voice no longer sounded human. "Bring him to me." Edmund Whitmore smelled of brandy and desperation. Eleanor knew it before she even entered the great hall, that stale mixture of expensive cologne, sweat, and liquor had haunted too much of her childhood. Late nights waiting for doors to open, wondering whether he would come home charming or cruel, usually both. Now he stood at the center of Ravenshade House, trying very hard to look unafraid. He failed, because across from him stood Lucian Vale, Duke of Ravenshade, still, silent, terrifying. Even without sight, he somehow made every room feel smaller. Edmund forced a smile. "Your Grace." Lucian said nothing. Edmund cleared his throat. "I believe there has been some misunderstanding." Still silence. Eleanor stood near the staircase, rigid. Lucian had insisted she remain. She understood why now. He wanted witnesses. Edmund straightened. "The settlement we agreed upon covered only the primary debt." Lucian finally spoke. "No." One word. Flat. Absolute. Edmund's jaw tightened. "You misunderstand." "No." Tap. Lucian's cane struck marble once. "The problem is not misunderstanding." Tap. "The problem is greed." The hall fell silent. Edmund's smile thinned. "I came respectfully." Lucian tilted his head. "No." A beat. "You came hungry." Eleanor almost shivered. Her father snapped. "I am her father." Lucian remained motionless. "Yes." Silence. As if that excuses anything. Edmund's face reddened. "You forget your place." That made several servants visibly tense. Forget your place to a duke. Madness. Lucian's voice became dangerously soft. "My place." Tap. "Say that again." Edmund realized too late what he had done. He swallowed. "I meant no insult." Lucian slowly turned his pale eyes towards him. "Perfectly. Impossible. You insulted yourself." The Duke's jaw tightened. "A father is meant to guard." Silence. "To protect." Silence. "To bleed before allowing harm." His voice dropped. "You negotiated value." Eleanor's throat tightened. Lucian continued. "You priced your daughter." Edmund snapped. "She benefited." Eleanor flinched. Lucian did not. "How?" Edmund spread his hands. "She lives in luxury." Lucian's expression hardened. "That is your defense." "She is safe here." The Duke's reply came instantly. "She was never safe with you." That landed like a blade. Edmund's face darkened. Enough moral performance. He jabbed a finger towards Eleanor. "You think she blames only me?" Eleanor froze. "No, no." Edmund smiled. ugly, cruel, calculated. If we're talking Marion, Lucian goes still, dead still. Edmund saw it and smiled wider. There, weakness. I see. His voice turned poisonous. She told you, didn't she? Eleanor's pulse thundered. Lucian said nothing. Edmund laughed. Marvelous. He looked at Eleanor with predatory delight. Did he tell you everything? Fear crawled up her spine. Everything. Lucian's voice cut through. Stop. Edmund ignored him. No, this is too precious. He looked at Eleanor with predatory delight. Did he tell you he could have stopped the marriage? The world stopped. Eleanor slowly turned towards Lucian. No, no. Edmund continued. He loved your mother. Silence. Pathetic, really. Eleanor's breathing shortened. Lucian's jaw locked. Edmund stepped closer. He had power. Closer. He had wealth. Closer. He had title. Then, but he did nothing. The words detonated. Eleanor stared at Lucian. Her voice barely formed. What? Lucian remained silent. That silence terrified her more than words. Edmund smiled. Oh, did he? He laughed. Marvelous. He didn't tell you. Eleanor's chest tightened. Tell me he's lying. Lucian said nothing. Her heart shattered. No. She stepped backwards. No. Lucian finally spoke. Eleanor. No. Her voice broke. Tell me he's lying. Silence. That silence answered everything. Her face drained. He knew, and he had done nothing. Not nothing forever, but not enough, not in time. The grief that hit her was monstrous because it came layered. Her father had betrayed her, that she knew. But Lucian had become something dangerous to her. Safety, understanding, truth. Now even that cracked. Tears spilled freely. You knew. Lucian's voice lowered. Yes. The confession gutted the room. Eleanor shook. You knew. Her breathing turned ragged. And you let her take her. Lucian's jaw tightened. I was 18. She barely heard him. She begged for help, didn't she? Silence. Didn't she? Lucian answered. Yes. That destroyed her. She gasped like someone had struck her. Lucian took a step forward. She came to me. Eleanor trembled violently. No. She begged me to wait. What? Lucian's voice was rough now, unsteady, rare. She asked me not to act. Eleanor stared. What? Edmund frowned. Lucian continued. She said if I challenged your father, then... His hand tightened around the cane. Your grandfather would disinherit her mother. Silence. She would lose everything. Eleanor's mind spun. No, her grandmother, her great-grandmother, mother had protected them. Lucian spoke. She asked me for 3 days. His voice dropped. 3 days to find another way. A beat. I gave her 3 days. Tears streamed down Eleanor's face. No, no, no. Lucian's breathing deepened. When I returned, silence. The wedding was over. The truth landed. Not indifference, not abandonment. Delay. A single fatal delay.
3 days. 3 days destroyed everything. Edmund barked a laugh. How romantic! Lucian's head slowly turned toward him. Even Edmund faltered, because something in the Duke had changed. No restraint, no civility, nothing human remained in that stillness. Edmund swallowed. Lucian spoke, quietly. "Leave." Edmund stiffened. "I'm not done." Lucian said it again. "Leave." Edmund lifted his chin. "No." Silence. Then he made the worst mistake of his life. He sneered at Eleanor. "If you're wise, girl, you'll remember blood matters." He smirked. "You are still mine." Everything stopped. Lucian moved, fast, too fast. Before anyone processed it, he crossed the distance. His gloved hand seized Edmund's throat. Gasps erupted. Eleanor froze. Lucian held him upright with terrifying ease. Edmund choked, hands clawing, eyes bulging. Lucian's voice came low, monstrous, controlled violence. "She is not yours." The marble hall echoed with choking sounds. Servants stood petrified. Eleanor couldn't breathe. She had never seen rage this silent, this cold. Lucian leaned closer. His pale, blind eyes faced Edmund, and somehow looked murderous. "If you ever speak of ownership again," a pause, "they will find what remains of you in the sea." Edmund trembled. Lucian released him. He collapsed, gasping, crawling, broken, humiliated. For the first time in Eleanor's life, her father looked small, pathetic, weak. Edmund staggered to his feet. Hatred burned in his eyes. This wasn't over. He pointed at Lucian, then Eleanor, voice shaking. "You think truth frees you?" His smile turned ugly. "It doesn't." He looked at Eleanor. "Ask him what else he hides." Silence. Then the final poison. "Ask him about the portrait." Lucian froze. Edmund smiled. "There, another weakness." He whispered, "Ask him why he kept your mother's portrait hidden for 17 years. The world stopped. Portrait. Eleanor slowly turned toward Lucian. His face had become unreadable, too unreadable. Her voice came as a whisper. "Portrait." No answer. Edmund laughed, then fled. The doors slammed shut behind him. Silence swallowed the hall. Eleanor stared at Lucian. He said nothing. That hurt most. Her voice shook. "You have a portrait of her?" Silence. "You kept it?" Nothing. "Why?" Lucian remained still, too still. Her anger surged. "No more silence." Her voice echoed. "No more secrets." Tears ran hot down her face. "You don't get to protect me with lies." Lucian finally spoke. "It is not a lie." "Then show me." Silence. "Show me." A long pause. Then Lucian turned. Tap, tap, tap. Walking deeper into the house. His voice came low. "Follow me." Eleanor's pulse thundered, because she knew whatever waited behind that door would change everything. Lucian led her through the oldest wing of Ravenshade House. Tap, tap, tap. The sound of his cane echoed through narrow corridors lined with portraits of dead aristocrats and forgotten bloodlines. Eleanor followed in silence, her heartbeat pounding harder with every step. No servants came here, no candles burned brightly here. This part of the house felt untouched, preserved, buried. At last, Lucian stopped before a dark oak door. His hand rested on the brass handle. For the first time since she met him, he hesitated. Eleanor noticed. That terrified her, because this was a man who never hesitated, not in speech, not in action, not in silence. Her voice softened. "What is in there?" Lucian answered without turning. "My greatest weakness." Her breath caught. Then he opened the door. The room smelled of oil paint, cedar and old paper. A private gallery. No, not a gallery. A shrine. Eleanor stepped inside. Her breath stopped. Portraits. Dozens. Not of dukes, not of ancestors. Of one woman. Her mother, Marion Whitmore. Young Marion by a lake. Marion reading by candlelight. Marion laughing in a garden. Marion with wind in her hair. Marion looking over her shoulder. Every wall, every frame. Her mother. Eleanor's knees weakened. No, no, no.
This wasn't affection. This wasn't memory. This was devotion, obsession, 17 years of obsession. Tears blurred her vision. Lucian remained by the door. He did not enter, as though he didn't deserve to. Eleanor turned slowly, voice shaking. "You kept all this?" "Yes." 17 years? "Yes." "Why?" Silence. Then, "Because memory fades." His voice was quieter than she had ever heard it. "I could not allow that." Eleanor looked back at the portraits. Then something caught her eye. At the far end of the room sat a single covered canvas, larger than the others, hidden beneath black cloth. She moved toward it. Lucian went rigid. "Eleanor." She stopped. His voice changed. Raw. "No." She slowly turned. "Why?" Silence. Then, "Because that one," a pause, "was never meant to be seen." Her pulse thundered. "Why?" No answer. She understood immediately. This was the one, the secret, the dangerous truth. She reached for the cloth. Lucian's voice cracked like thunder. "Don't." She froze. That single word carried more emotion than everything else he had said to her. Fear, real fear. Eleanor whispered, "Why are you afraid?" Silence. Then the truth. "Because if you see it," his breathing deepened, "you'll know." Her chest tightened. "Know what?" Lucian said nothing. Eleanor slowly lifted the cloth. It fell, and the world stopped. She stared. Her body forgot how to breathe. The portrait showed Marion, but older, pregnant, one hand over her stomach, tears in her eyes, and beside her, Lucian, younger, his hand over hers, protective, intimate, devoted, not merely lovers, no, something deeper. Then Eleanor saw the inscription painted into the lower corner, a single line in Marion's handwriting. "If she has your eyes, tell her I loved her before she drew breath." The room shattered. Eleanor stumbled backward. No, no, no. Her mind rejected it, but the truth came anyway, violent,
unstoppable. She turned toward Lucian, face white, voice broken. What does this mean? Silence. Her pulse screamed, "No, no, Lucian." Her name came out as a whisper. What does this mean? He stood motionless. Then, "It means," his voice nearly failed him. "I was too late." Eleanor shook. "No, it means your mother came to me after her marriage." Her knees weakened. "No, she told me she was carrying a child." Tears flooded her eyes. "No, no." Lucian's jaw tightened. "She didn't know whether the child was mine." Silence. "Or Edmund's." The words detonated. Eleanor stopped breathing. "No, impossible." Lucian continued. "She said if the child had my eyes, a beat, I would know." Her vision blurred. "No, she begged me to protect you. No, she made me a promise. No." Her scream broke through the room. She staggered backward, hands shaking violently. "No." Her entire identity fractured. 19 years of knowing who she was, gone. Lucian moved instinctively toward her. She flinched. He stopped like struck. That hurt him more than anything. Eleanor cried, raw, broken. "You knew." His silence answered. "You knew." Yes. The confession destroyed her. "How long?" Lucian answered. "The moment I heard your voice." She stared. "What?" "Because you sound like her." Tears streamed down his face now. He didn't hide them. "The way you pause before pain." His voice shook. "The way silence changes around you." Another breath. "The first moment you spoke." His composure finally broke. "I knew." Eleanor trembled. All the strange things now made sense. Why he took the debt, why he listened, why he cared, why he saw her. Not because she was merely Marian's daughter, because she might be his. She whispered, "You thought you were my daughter." Lucian answered with brutal honesty, "I still don't know." Silence. He lowered his head. "And that terrifies me." Eleanor stared. "Why?" Lucian slowly raised his face, and for the first time she saw naked vulnerability. No duke, no power, just a man destroyed. "Because," his voice broke, "I do not know which truth would hurt more." Her pulse hammered. He continued, "If you are Edmund's," a breath, "then I failed Marian." Silence. "If you are mine," his jaw trembled, "then I failed both of you." The weight of that confession crushed the room. Eleanor cried harder, not because she hated him, but because she finally understood him. The blind duke, feared by London, cold, unreadable, dangerous, had spent 17 years punishing himself, 17 years living with one unanswered question. Then Eleanor realized something horrifying. She looked at the portrait, then at Lucian, then at the portraits again. A thought formed. Her voice dropped. "Wait." Lucian stilled. "You said," her breathing quickened, "if I had your eyes." She stepped closer, slowly. Lucian's pale eyes faced forward, blind, clouded, almost silver. Eleanor stared. Then everything clicked.
her own grey eyes, not Edmund's brown, not Marian's blue-grey, silver-grey, her knees nearly buckled. "No, no," she whispered. "Oh my God!" Lucian went still. Eleanor's voice shook violently. "My eyes!" Silence. "My eyes!" She covered her mouth. Tears exploded. She understood. So did he. Lucian stopped breathing because he heard it. Not the words, the silence, the shape of revelation, the collapse. He whispered, "Eleanor." She crossed the distance, fast, before he could react. Her shaking hands reached up and touched his face. Lucian froze. Her palms held his jaw, warm, real, trembling. Tears poured down her cheeks. Then she said the words that ended 17 years of punishment. "You weren't too late." Lucian shattered completely. His cane fell, clattering against wood. His hands rose, stopped, afraid. He whispered, "May I?" Eleanor broke, because even now, he asked. He asked. She sobbed, "Yes." That single word undid him. Lucian pulled her into his arms, not graceful, not restrained, desperate. 17 years of grief collapsed. He held her like a man trying to recover lost time with bare hands. Eleanor cried into his chest, not as a prisoner, not as debt, not as property, as something neither expected. Home. Lucian buried his face in her hair. His shoulders shook. He whispered the words he had buried for nearly 2 decades. "I'm sorry." Again. "I'm sorry." Again. "I'm sorry." Eleanor clutched him tighter. "You saved me." "No," his voice cracked. "You did." She pulled back enough to look at him, tears everywhere. "You saw me." Silence. Then the line that changed everything, the line Marian once gave him. Eleanor whispered, "I see you." Lucian broke again, because after 17 years in darkness, someone saw him, not the Duke, not the myth, the man. 3 weeks later, London society erupted. The scandal spread like wildfire. Not because Edmund Whitmore had been ruined, not because Lord Ashcombe lost influence, not even because the Duke of Ravenshade reclaimed Whitmore lands. No, society obsessed over one thing. The blind Duke of Ravenshade had publicly acknowledged Eleanor Whitmore as his daughter, and then he did something no one expected. At the spring assembly, with half the ton watching, Lucian entered with Eleanor at his arm. Heads turned, whispers exploded. Then every whisper died, because the Duke stopped at the center of the ballroom and bowed to her. A full Duke's bow to a 19-year-old girl the world once priced like property. His voice carried across stunned silence. No one will ever sell her again. No one dared challenge him, not after that, not ever. If this story gave you that deep, satisfying feeling of watching truth rise from betrayal, then you're exactly where you belong. Subscribe to Regent Hearts for more stories of scandal, longing, and powerful men brought to their knees by the women they underestimated. Comment below what hit you hardest in this story: the gambling debt, the portrait room, or the final bow. Your answers help shape what we create next.